All right, thank you for staying with us. I told you, actually, all right.
Can you imagine the feeling when you get your news as the break with fact and clarity? How entertaining do you want your entertainment news?
There can only be one African queen!
What about sport?
What a touch from Welbeck!
Piece of improvisation, instinctive thinking to help us.
Don't you want your sport analysis delivered by knowledgeable hosts? Top trending news served hot and juicy as the break. Western Spring Television, WSTV, your urban Yoruba channel for news.
Western Spring Television, ours it is.
COVID-19 is a global crisis. Businesses, cities, even countries were shut down by a disease traced to a wildlife market. We must never let it happen again. In captivity, wild animals are potential sources of disease. To protect our wildlife and our health, say no to illegal bushmeat and report wildlife crime. Keep them wild and keep us safe.
Up to 75% of human infectious diseases originates in animals. And as more bush
Thank you for staying with us. We talked this morning about new development as far as our electoral system is concerned and the cycle. The last time we had the general election that had gubernatorial presidential positions determined was 2023. And of course, we've had pocket and series of other by-elections as well. So the next time should be 2027, either February or March. But now, there is a proposal, a draft at the National Assembly where some are seeking an amendment. And the draft amendment was unveiled on Monday during a public hearing jointly organized by the Senate and the House Committees on Electoral Matters in Abuja. The move contained in the Electoral Act Amendment B 2025 seeks to ensure that all election petitions are concluded before the May 29, 2027 handover date. And the draft amendment read elections into the office of the president and governor of a state shall be held not later than 185 days before the expiration of the term of office of the last holder of the office. This means the polls would fall in November 2026, roughly 6 months before the end of the current administration's tenure. The chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matters, Honorable Adebayo Balogun, explained that the move is designed, and I quote, to ensure that all manner of election litigations are dispensed with before the swearing in of winners. And he said the National Assembly plans to amend Section 285 and Section 189 of the 1999 Constitution to shorten the timelines for election petitions, reducing tribunal judgment from 180 to 90 days, appellate court decisions from 90 to 60 days, and ensuring that the entire judicial process does not exceed 185 days. Now, there is another key proposal, and it includes early voting for certain categories of Nigerians, such as security personnel, annex staff, accredited journalists and observers, at least 14 days before the election date. And these are the reasons. So, instead of February or March 2027, they are saying because of these reasons, let the election be brought forward to November 2026. So what's your take on that? We'd like you to let us know what you think. Well, here we have a Nigerian, a public affairs analyst and lawyer who will look into these with us. Barrister Moses Obaditan joins us in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Now, what's your impression of these? They've given their reasons. Some are saying, oh, let's look at this. Some are saying, excuse us. Let it just be as it is. But I just need your initial, impression of this decision that instead of 2027, let all litigations be done with. And because of that, bring it forward to November 2026. Do you think that's a good initiative, actually?
Let me start with quotation from James Friedman Clark.
Right.
He said, a politician thinks of the next election, but a statesman thinks of the next generation.
Okay.
Out of the multitude of challenges facing the country, should it be 2026 that should be uppermost in the minds of people who are representing us at the National Assembly? And if that is what is uppermost in their mind, then there's a lot of challenges. Why? The reason is that bringing election closer to 2026 in the midst of hardship, economic adversity, insecurity. People are not even talking about the insecurity. If you bring the election, how about the places like even very close to us in Kwara State now? There are people who are not spoiled in their community and a lot of things, and what matters is just bringing it. I think they should have, if I happen to be there, like, okay, let's solve this insecurity issue. Let's think of those people who are lamenting and crying of not having food to eat. Let's think of the numbers of graduates that have graduated 5 years, 7 years, and have nothing to do. By so doing, I have a reason why I have to start from that place.
Right.
If you look at the people who are coming out to vote, from 2007, they have been decreased. And I remember the last percentage of people who voted for Bola Ahmed Tinubu were put around 25.3% of the people who registered to vote. So these are some of the things they are supposed to have look around, see how they can amend before giving us 2020. To me, I think that 2026 is premature, is unnecessary, and a lot of...
We shouldn't be talking about it now. That's what I'm saying.
No, what I'm saying is that bringing...
Other matters.
Yes, they're urgent. Like the Bible say when wood fell upon themselves, you lift the upper one. So you remove the upper. So the upper one to this election is that they should look at it. What is it that people are not coming out to vote?
Barrister.
Yes, sir.
Quite interesting, Barrister. But for me, there are some aspects of this amendment that are quite interesting that Nigerians will like. I recall that here in this studio, we talked about electoral reforms and some of the challenges we are facing. We talked about the fact that we should have voting in one day, single day voting. Now, if this reform should pull through, apart from the November 2026 probability of having election, because the argument is such that the elections will hold at least 6 months earlier than usual to give room for the tribunals to make their case, for anyone who is going to be sworn in before the candidates get sworn in. That's one reason why they are suggesting that shift to November 2026. But let's look at some other, good aspects of that amendment if it pulls through. For instance, Section 60, subsection 5, which reads, in part, the presiding officer shall transmit the results, including the total number of accredited voters, to the next level of collation, both electronically and manually. Here's the point, Barrister Obaditan. If this proposal should pull through, rather, it will make transmission of results electronically mandatory. This is part of what we talked about as far as electoral reforms are concerned. For now, INEC, they conduct elections. They have the IRF, they have the BVAS and all that, but it is still not mandatory for them to transmit results electronically, which actually leaves a gap. A lot of people have complained that sometimes when they try to collect results from polling units and they want finally read out at the collation centers, they see discrepancies, differences. But if INEC is mandated to transmit results electronically, then we won't have that gap anymore. That's one. Another important thing for us to note in this proposal is the initiative spearheaded by the House of Reps Constitution Review, headed by Deputy Speaker Benjamin Kalu, also proposed that if passed, this proposal will mandate INEC to conduct presidential, governorship, National Assembly, and states House of Assembly elections on a single day. Now, this will reduce bandwagon effect. This is another good side of that. It will cut costs. Apart from reducing bandwagon effect, it will cut costs. Barrister, if we have elections on a single day, presidential, governorship, National Assembly and State Houses of Assembly elections on a single day, it won't only cut costs, it will reduce bandwagon effect. So looking at that, compulsory transmission and electronic transmission of results, and of course, single day elections in Nigeria, don't you think these are very good aspects of this proposal if it should pull through?
Well, the proposal is good, but the question we're going to ask, are we ready? Do we have all the modern equipment that can assist? One of it is issue of this data, some other things that are going to assist us. The other time they told us that from now on, we've got an IREV. With this one, you will just be watching it in our website. And lo and behold, by the time they get to the polling unit, they say there's no network. And whereas in some African countries, like in Rwanda, working like this, you don't need to get any network. So that's why I said, what they ought to do is to look at those challenges. These are noble things. Within so and so time, this thing will get there. Within 60 days, we've done. I said, beautiful. How about some other things that will make this thing to function? There have been places where the seller is going to be done, but they said because this thing they have to use manual. Now, if it is now going to be compulsory, do we have the necessary equipment, like I'm talking of network issue? Then number two, where it is not going to be possible because of absence of network, what would be the other alternative? Are they going to reverse to manual, or they will postpone their election for the next day?
Electronically or manually. So in case of
we want them to remove
conditions.
That manual. Politicians are very crafty. If they know they won't be able to manipulate, if the electronics are working properly, or they simply tell the people, the INEC official that go there, say, look, just tell them there's no network. And so once there's no network, then you can manipulate. You can change figure. But what you put in a system does not change itself.
Absolutely.
So that's why I felt in my own submission that when there is no network, that annual should be suspended until, even if possible, the next day. And they did it
to ensure it is transmitted
electronically. So it will be better so that we don't use this manual. People are very clever. So these are some of those. Then you also talk
about the single day elections.
The single days election is lovable. Why do I say that?
How do you mean?
The reason why I'm saying that, when we are conducting just gubernatorial election, people break down. They've not arrived. Those who are by the riverside, the thing capsized. So we are thinking of the weight, or how will he be able to get this thing done if we find it difficult to just one gubernatorial election nationwide. We could not do it. If we are going to do everything, how are we going to do it? Do we have the wherewithal? Do we have the human resources? Not in terms of numerical.
Barrister, because I wanted to say it's still the same number of officials that are needed, to conduct elections on separate days that we still need to conduct on a single day. The only difference, Barrister, will be that we have additional ballot boxes, just 3 additional ballot boxes for National Assembly, for State House of Assembly, and of course for governorship elections. So it's still the same process, still the same number of issues needed, just extra ballot boxes. And to cut costs, analysts have argued that this will actually cut costs, apart from reducing the bandwagon effect. What do you have to say to that?
I say it's noble, it's good. But I know we in Nigeria, they will tell us the vehicle that's supposed to convey the materials. Have you heard, there was a particular election, I think it's 2015.
Right.
They were saying the material to be used still at the airport in South Africa. So those are some of the things they need to look at. How do we do it? Is it the central bank that's going to print it? Is it there's another national printing and minting? Printing and minting. Because there's some, they say for security we cannot go. We have to take. So these are other areas they must be able to get us, so that when the material is ready, how do we take it to the venue? The next local government or the next bank, where they are going to release it early in the morning. And then you look at
You're talking about logistics here.
Yes, I'm talking of logistics. I'm not saying, I say good, but have we done those things? For example, if you take take off from Lagos to Warri to Port Harcourt today. Have you considered the roads? Are they going to fly the materials? So these are some of the things they need to put in places so that we can say, okay, the election will be taking place.
Well, Barrister, if those things, if we don't start it, how would we know if actually we are ready?
It's not starting that matters.
Yeah.
What you do is to test run, to give us.
That's what I'm saying. We must be ready to say, let's give it a go. Then the test running will happen.
We should take the chance.
Yeah, and then we'll know. But then that is not...
When do you want to start it? Do you know why I'm giving this question? 2027 election is already pregnant.
So we shouldn't test run with it.
No, you are good, but I'm saying a lot of pressure is already there. Those who are even telling you, they say there is no vacancy. And then you see people are every day.
That's what politicians will say.
Whether I'm saying that if you are going to do it, ensure we don't have reason of giving excuse for our failure. The ability to be able to do proper arrangement, proper organization, and ensure that before that general election
to run smoothly.
That other, for example, we have by next month in Anambra election will be coming up. What are those things we put in places so that material get to the polling unit at appropriate time? Then the website will not be blocked, the network will be there, the IRA will work. So if we're able to, so that we don't say, in case it doesn't work, go to manual. So these are some of the things I'm saying that it is good for us to do it in one day. But do we have the capacity
what it takes to do that?
To do it.
All right. Let me ask you now, back to where we started, the issue of the election being brought back, actually. And one of the merits of the proponents of this particular, draft adjustment, as they have called it, is the fact, and that's what concerns you, the election litigations, 180 days in some instances. Excuse me. And they are saying, okay, the ones that are supposed to be determined 2 ways, maybe in 180, can be determined in 90 days. Those that are supposed to be for maybe 90 days can be determined in 60 days. And where we are, and they are saying it is better, Barrister, that every litigation will have been determined. The court would have pronounced finally on this matter. Either the tribunal part, the appellate court, the Supreme Court, everything will have been done with, so that we don't always give, or INEC or whatever, the system will not give a victory that will still be changed later to someone or undue advantage. Barrister, I said something here with my colleague yesterday, that there are some persons that, especially governors and presidents, that the moment you swear them in and they are in power, right, they have an undue advantage because their cases will still be in court. For example, in Nigeria, imagine a Nigerian president being there. The man is in charge of almost every institution. Yes, he has his case in court. So it will be very difficult to not send the same man out because there is another pronouncement. This is the issue. And they are saying, let everything be pronounced. The person getting into power will no more be distracted. He will have his work cut out for him. The litigations will have been done with, and then he can face governance. Don't you think that is a point?
That's good.
A good point.
It's a good point. But then this number of days they are mentioning is unacceptable to me.
Why?
Because I saw example in Kenya. The Kenya people conducted election. And I think Ghana has a similar one too. Within 2 weeks of that presidential election, the litigation on it was settled. As soon as the election result is out, the person concerned who is grieved, who is not satisfied, has 7 days to file. And then within the short period, because your material, everything you'll have gathered and put it before the Supreme Court, instead of going to one Court of Appeal and then we'll move on there, it costs a lot of time. So let's then go and study how they do it in Kenya.
But you know, Barrister, when we mention some of these things, I'll allow you to land.
Yes, sir.
When we mention Kenya,
yes.
I'm not sure Kenya has a 50 million population. When you talk about Ghana, some of these persons have very lower population as compared to Nigeria. So it's easy for us to throw up these things because the people, some of this country you are talking about, maybe they are just the southwest of Nigeria, talking about population. We are talking about 200 million people, 90 million, 93 million of them, voting. And then maybe like 30 or 40 million of them, having access 93 million to voters card, and many of them, like 40 million going about to vote. It's not as, they don't have a population. They don't have a square kilometers and all of those things. don't we always put that into factor when we measure some of these countries to say, oh, they have done it in 7 days? How can you gather witness in 7 days in Nigeria for presidential election in 36 states of the Federation, and you're expected to pursue a case to a logical conclusion? Can that work? 2 weeks, 1 month?
Very good. If we are going to drop Kenya, I'll give you 2 other nations which are more populous than our country. Okay. We have India, we have America. Okay. All we need to do is to amend that action that says you must call witness in every polling unit. Since those documents, they are tenable, we know the number meant for A, B, C, D. The electronic is going to help us because most of those electronic is not going to lie. Nobody's going to change it. So if we're able to ensure that we follow the electronic process during the election, during the maybe what do you call it, the counting, as well as the processing of the final one, it's a matter of getting those devices, then put it at the appropriate places for lawyers who either for this side or the other side, bring them. That's number one. Number two, when you are talking of the number of days, how many days does it cost India? When you want to use about 6 months to prepare for the finality of going to court.
Yes, because it's in different stages. Tribunal.
I say we should cancel those 3 stages. Let it be one, Supreme Court.
Really?
Yes, that's what they did in the country I mentioned. So it's not a matter about the population.
With the judiciary as we currently have?
Just try and Google. As soon as it happened in Ghana, the presidential contest goes straight to the Supreme Court, where they're going to look at the nitty-gritty, the challenges, the minor, the addition that ought to be there. So it saves time.
Yeah, so no need for tribunal, appeal courts.
All this, they didn't do that. They too make an amendment that they will not be going to these places because it will cost time. It's just time saving. So if you look at the American election, I think normally come up around a particular month. January. Yeah. And within a month or so, the new president is sworn in. How did they do it? These are the things. What you do is to study and then make some, correction in your own. So this particular presidency is not about population. It's about targeting what you want to achieve. And for example, if you look at the gubernatorial election, you start for the High Court now. From there, you go to Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal, you now move to Supreme Court. And the governor is already spending 1 year. You now expect him to be laughing and waiting for it, whatever thing needs to be done. And even in some cases, when he knows he's not likely to go, he's not likely to stay, the resources of the state will have gone with him. And the people he has appointed.
And that's why we made that point. At the moment,
that's why we say, let the governor, let it be reduced to just 2.
Yeah.
The first place will be maybe the Court of Appeal, and the second will be the Supreme Court.
All right.
Which will save us time and then be able to give us...
let me allow you hold your thoughts, because we must go on a break. And some have even been saying, maybe we need a special court for electoral matters as well.
And that's what it is.
Just a conventional.
That was happening in the case of Kenya.
Yeah. All right. We'll go on a quick break. When we return, we speak to these issues further. We are live on Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Stay with us.
As a watershed character in history.
Thank you for staying with us. We're still talking about a proposal, being discussed, a draft adjustment to our electoral laws, in which the chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matters, Honorable Adebayo Balogun, explained that the move is designed to ensure that all manner of election litigations are dispensed with before the swearing in of winners. And you're saying the National Assembly are planning to amend sections 285 and 189 of the 1999 Constitution to shorten the timelines for election petitions, reducing tribunal judgment from 180 to 90 days, appellate court decisions from 90 to 60 days, and ensuring that the entire judicial processes does not exceed 185 days. So, meaning the expected 2027 election is being proposed to be brought forward to November 2026. And we have been talking with Barrister Moses Obaditan. He's been joined, and we have been joined by a public affairs analyst and a politician, architect Goke Omigbodun. Thank you for joining us, architect.
My pleasure to be here.
Right. What do you think about this proposal, the merits for those that are saying, let's do this? It's only okay. Election petitions and cases are determined. So everybody that will be announced, you know, you are going into governance and you straighten up to do the work. What do you feel?
Interestingly, I agree absolutely with their thinking. And I also agree that the various levels of judiciary should also still look through all the matters, because when you leave things only to the, because I had Barrister before coming in saying that just go straight to Supreme Court. I'm not a lawyer. I'm still studying.
Only presidential.
I'm still studying law, so maybe I'm still a law student.
Okay.
But I still have an opinion that for real robust jurisprudence, let certain other people first hear the matter. The Supreme Court knows it's coming to them, so they take interest to, and they also will be studying the pros and cons. So by the time it finally comes to them, and then it makes the number of people that will look at those matters to be larger than just the Supreme Court, which may just have, because of the numbers of cases that may come before them, then they may now have so many panels of the Supreme Court sitting. And at the end of the day, it's still just 5-7 people that determine what happens eventually to the presidency of Nigeria. But now, if, interestingly, some of the people that I would ordinarily agree with, maybe I yet do not understand. I disagree with them in this regard. People who are asking us to be too cautious about, if right now we're in October, and perhaps the Electoral Act or certain aspects of other acts of even state electoral commissions will say that you require at least 360 days notice of an election before it holds. And now we're in October, and we are saying that some of those elections may have to hold November 2020. So we have 30 days to prepare the notices, and then let us also begin to prepare how all the elections will hold. And like Daniel said, when I was listening to both Daniel and the barrister discussing it, it's the same number of officers that will do it. It's the same, it's the same procedure. So it becomes even cheaper. In fact, the mischief that used to attend to bandwagon effects, when people already know who is the governor also, then every member of House of Assembly now let everybody do the election the same day. I dare say, if all the elections were held the same day in these last elections that we had, Gbadebo Roosevelt would be the governor of Lagos today, and not Sanwo-Olu. And because all of a sudden it became so obvious that APC had lost Lagos, and so they now started bringing out masqueraders, threatening people, threatening the Igbos, making life difficult for them, threatening anybody that was light complexion. Somebody like me, if I was in Lagos, they would not allow me to vote just because of my complexion.
Yeah. All right, architect. All right, architect. Let me quickly come back to you, Barrister. Barrister Obaditan.
Yes.
Looking at this move, okay, to bring forward the election to November 2026, it's a move coming from the National Assembly and not from INEC. Now, could this move be interpreted as a political move, okay, to tamper with the independence of INEC? That's number one. And number two, how prepared is INEC and how prepared are the electorates if this election is actually moved to November 2026 instead of February, March 2027? One, is it can it be interpreted to be a political move that might affect the independence of INEC? And mind you, Barrister Obaditan, right now the ruling party, the APT, they have 2/3 majority in the Senate. So they can actually achieve quite a lot, whatever they want to do. So do you see this as them just trying to take advantage of the fact that they actually have the numbers? More people are defecting, more legislators are defecting from both in both the Senate and the House of Reps. So do you see the ruling party trying to use their power now to achieve whatever they want to achieve at the National Assembly?
In answering you, let me just use an allegory. That is, you hit the iron when it is hot. The politician there knew the political temperature in Nigeria was favorable to the APC. And for them, because, things could change. And then, look, with this, everybody joined the wagon. Why don't you bring it to 2026 before they change their mind? So it could be politically, motivated so that they can just have it. And they have even told majority of people and said, don't worry yourself. There is no vacancy in Aso Rock. It's likely to be one of the reasons. Let's even have it now so that they will keep their mouth shut. Secondly, it could also be maybe they felt instead of removing the president or troubling the man at the governor, not having his mind on this job, we could bring it maybe earlier. So if this election is conducted, we'll have solved the problem before the swearing in. It could be other side. But in Nigeria, there are always reasons, depend on the group in which you belongs to. So there could be other people. Then issue. If that is what they want, who are we? As I'm talking to you, they have 2/3 majority. They can have their ways. Just when this program is going, one of their members, a senator, who have offended them, make a move. Try to raise a bill yesterday. Nobody supported her. Because she was not just part of the system that they're going to understand. So the summary of what I'm trying to say is that it is
that individual was later supported by the Senate President himself.
What I read is what I've done.
Yeah.
But what I'm in a nutshell, to focus on what you are saying. If they decided and said it's going to be 2026, maybe from here I had it, or somebody was analyzing when I was driving home. It should be the person that what we call federalism is a unitary system. I think you had once said it this morning. So in paper, we're a federal system. But in reality, we are more of a unitary system of. So if they want, they have the majority, they will have their way.
So how about INEC, sir? Is INEC prepared? How prepared is INEC? Recall that now INEC is in a transition phase, for a new chairman. So how prepared do you think INEC is? Because this push is not coming from them. It's coming from the National Assembly. So do you really think INEC is prepared to take on this fresh challenge at this time?
By my training, I'm not trained to speculate. We deal with facts, we deal with documents. But the fact on the ground is that INEC is set to know the challenge ahead in 2027. Why? Number one, the new chairman that is coming is still in embryo. The National Assembly have not cleared him. He has never been in that system before. He's going to be coming in. A lot of, normally people felt Agbomuche should have been the person, they are going to be...
Yeah, because she has been in the system.
In the system for a long time. There are going to be internal, challenges, but for him to settle down and then understand. And then two, there's all this suspicion. Why this man? Why all this? So let's leave that one on that side. Then coming to their previous performances. If you look at the election that has happened after the presidential election, you will ask questions. These people have not changed. By next month, an Anambra election will be coming. We'll be able to know how prepared they are. This electoral thing we are talking, they know they have challenges about it. They know how they overcome it. And I said, each time there's election in Africa and beyond, they send people to observe. Yes. So why are you observing?
Even INEC themselves.
That's what I'm saying. I said the INEC are sent to go and observe. Yeah. So what they have learned, they ought to have incorporated that to what they are doing. But so far, so good. In the last, after the 2020 election, I've not seen anything. Look at what they did in Kogi. So are you expecting the likelihood?
But now they have a couple of elections to test strong. For instance,
from next month.
Exactly. November next month, Anambra.
We'll be able to
February 2026, you have Abuja FCT polls. Yes. June 2026, you have Ekiti polls. And August we have Osun. So do you think these elections will be enough to test INEC's preparedness?
It's part of it. It's not like when you are preparing for a World Cup. Your team doesn't need to go to World Cup and play off straight. You start with your neighbor. You play friendly matches, and your coach will be able to know. This guy is good for this number. No, our back is too porous.
Only that in this case is the analogy. These matches are not friendly.
They are critical, exactly.
They are critical.
They are determinants of people's future. Yes. But let me go to architects. I'm sorry. I could see you. You were giggling when something was said at the time. That's one. I would like you to say the reason why you are giggling. And number two,
giggling about what?
I saw you smile. Now, is the reason. The barrister said maybe the levels of
political tension.
No, the levels of the courts, actually, the tribunal, the appeal, all of these possibly should be reduced to one in case of presidency and governance. But the thing is, I've always wondered if actually, especially for gubernatorial cases and presidential cases, the final arbiter is the Supreme Court. Now, why go through the rigors of the tribunal, the appeal court, and then you go to the Supreme Court because they are still the one? If actually you choose to still, pursue the case to the Supreme Court, why can't we just save the time, save the resources, save everybody the stress, go to Milots in Abuja, let them determine what they want to determine? Why can't we do that?
Well, you have to...
They're still the one that will determine the case.
In fact, interestingly, I think the lawyer in the house here should be able to answer that question better, but I will still answer from the position of also being a law student and of being a politician. Because I know that you have to front load so many things. You'll kill the Supreme Court if everything is taken straight to the Supreme Court. Let some other people first deal with some of the chores, and then eventually, while that is being done, the Supreme Court is also watching and waiting, and they are able to understand a lot of things like the rest of us even understand just watching them on television from what is happening in the courts and understanding what is happening. Perhaps the easiest that I can liken it to for me is like an architect in a studio asking somebody in the studio after you took the brief together, this is the design, you put it together, let it come to me. By the time it's coming back to me, there are things I will see even a little differently because it's not just coming to me for the first time. The way I look at it again is like you are an expert in your own field, but you still take consultants eventually to take a second look. So let those first courts of initial jurisdiction take a first look. And the Supreme Court is already interested to the appeal court is already interested.
But they are the final arbiter.
That is what I'm saying. By the time it comes final, and who told you that everything will finally come to them? It's only in Nigeria that's because of the way we handle things, we are never satisfied with
that's our reality.
Lower levels. And so then it is better that those lower levels also first take a look. You can't kill the Supreme Court. How many are they there? I think constitutionally they are supposed to be 21 or so. Have we ever had that full number of judges of the Supreme Court?
Let me add to this, talking about arbitration. The court case at the Supreme Court and the election petition cases, some might be advocating that we should have specialized courts that will handle election matters beyond the conventional courts.
What are you talking? Don't we have tribunals? That's what the tribunals are doing. And you are now still saying that those tribunals should be taken out.
No, the tribunal is still part of the process. Actually, that's what I'll be saying. So that those persons, what they do actually is to administer, adjudicate on election matters alone.
Let me understand.
And so that you don't burden the conventional courts.
Let me understand. So you now have a Supreme Court for election matters.
No, they are just election petition.
We already have that.
Courts, actually.
We already have tribunals. And you cannot take anything out of the judiciary. That's the truth of the matter.
My point is exactly. So we have the tribunals, like you said. So can't we just have it in two stages? The tribunals, then of course the Supreme Court.
There was a time
that will reduce the levels of litigation.
There was a time that it was the tribunals and the appeal court, and many things ended at the appeal court. Now they've been extended to the Supreme Court.
Only Guba and presidency.
Yes, there's this Yoruba proverb that says that a chicken that is destined to die can be taken out by any means. Either you slaughter it, you throw it in hot water, you throw it directly into pepper, let the chicken be killed. So whether you now bypass the appeal and go straight to Supreme, or from the tribunal you go to appeal court and let the appeal court be the ceiling. At least 2 levels, if not all 3 levels, should look into
the analogy you gave about the chicken being taken out by other means might not work, because I'll give you an example. Okay. In Plateau State, right, it took the Supreme Court to save Caleb Mutwang from being wiped off that cancellation, you know, with the cancellation of the primary that took place for the PDP. Everything wiped off, all the assembly members, the National Assembly members, all of them. But because he had an opportunity to appeal at the Supreme Court.
Oh,
so that might not work.
No, just, you see, I'm enjoying this example that you have brought.
It was the Supreme Court who saved him.
Oh, so now, can you imagine now if those initial decisions were taken at the Supreme Court, where would he have gone?
Well, to God. That's all.
That's why we are saying,
so you say
let certain decisions first be taken while it is being taken. Look, let me also tell you one thing that I have observed. And I'm happy there's a lawyer here. If I'm wrong, he will be able to tell me. Yeah. I strongly believe that even the courts sometimes will gauge the mood of the people. They do not want to do anything that will cause an uproar. At least I have seen a situation before where certain things were happening in a particular court. By the time I finished the description, people may know, but I will still try my best not to. A vice chancellor was going through some matters here in Osun State, and there were people all around from the university who felt the vice chancellor was doing something right, and the court was going to, ask him. And eventually they called for a break, and when they returned, they said, okay, give the vice chancellor a bail, and then allow him to go and look at things properly, and then come back. And within me, I came to a conclusion that day that even the courts judged the mood of the people and recognized that we need to also find out why are the people reacting this way. So when matters also go at lower levels, the judges at the Supreme Court can gauge whatever measure you go. When a matter is sub judice, there are only a few things that the rest of us can say. But those few things that we are able to say, and those other things that even careless people who do not care about contempt of court will say, will be matters that those that will finally take a decision that can only be changed by God will look at in taking those decisions.
All right.
So why not have those levels?
All right, architect. Just before you came in, I was trying to raise...
Sorry, I just want to chip in some things.
Yeah.
You see, in passing judgment, there are 3 principles that guide judges. Number 1, the facts. Number 2, the interests of the party concerned. And then number 3, the interests of the public. Yes. That's why you find sometimes, like in 1979 election, Awo should have been given opportunity of going for election. But the Supreme Court, I mean, the people who you say they look at it, if they decided that that election should be done, the military will not hand over. So they look at the just to chip in what you're saying, that they look at the mode. So the public interest must be considered while giving judgment, except a biased judge that will not consider that one. So you can continue with it.
All right, architect. As I was saying just before you came in, I was trying to raise some of the points made, some of the cases that this reform will look into, this amendment, this proposed amendment by the National Assembly, and they talked about making transmission of election results mandatory. Now, let's look at some of the technologies being employed by INEC, the Independent National Electoral Commission. For instance, we have the INEC Results Viewing Portal, the IREV. We have the BVAS, the Bimodal Voter Accreditation System. Now, when these technologies were being introduced by the former INEC boss, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, he said these platforms were perfect, that they would do extremely well. Yes, he said a lot of things. He went to the UK, went to Chatham House, it made so much promises, making it look as if nothing would go wrong. But unfortunately, they failed Nigerians in that regard. They've not been able to transmit it electronically. Now, coming back to this new proposal by the National Assembly, if it should pull through, how do you think it will affect elections in Nigeria? Because Barrister raised the point that if they should make it mandatory, but if there's still a clause in that amendment that says electronically or manually, that politicians will always manipulate the system to truncate the electronic transmission and say there was no network, that's why they couldn't transmit electronically, and still fall back to the manual transmission. just to allow for manipulation. What exactly do you think we should be doing? Should we have it? Should they make the law? Should they amend it so that it should be strictly transmission of results electronically without giving room for any manual transmission? So even if the network is down, they can postpone the election, just like Barrister was suggesting.
I'm in absolute agreement with what the barrister has said. And you see, electronic devices are about garbage in, garbage out. So it is the man that is handling the devices that determines what the device does. There's this old proverb, I don't know where it came from, that a child is holding a bird and asks an old sage, is this bird alive
or dead?
Or dead? It depends on the one holding the bird. But because if you say the bird is alive, he wrings the neck and gives it to you, especially he's holding the bird behind him. You can't even see what he's doing with it. And if you say, oh, the bird is dead, allows the bird to fly and says you are wrong. So it depends on those. And you see, I was at a your radio program this morning. That's the one that the barrister is citing when I said we have a unitary state. But I also mentioned something there that the votes ordinarily count. It will depend on particular persons within INEC to let the process in place make the votes count. And I think one of the things that happened in the last elections that people are saying, oh, our votes don't count, is because the same day certain results were transmitted electronically and those results were satisfactory to the people.
Without glitch.
And the same day, certain other results were not transmitted electronically and the electronics decided to fail in the hands of the people because the people chose to make the electronics to fail. And therefore, people lost confidence.
So you're saying the bulk of the work
everything should be electronic, such that nobody can tamper with anything. Let the results come out the way they went in. The same garbage that the people of Nigeria put through the ballot papers should be what should come out through the electronic devices. Nothing should be manual. So I agree with that position that the barrister has taken on that.
Ask you this before we come to the barrister.
Yes.
Now, the proposal, or those that are proposing that draft, to say that the Constitution needs to be amended, Section 285 and 139 of the 1999 Constitution, to shorten the timelines for election petitions, reducing tribunal judgment from 180 to 90 days, appellate court from 90 to 60 days, and ensuring that the entire judicial process does not exceed 185 days. So what they are saying, the one that should take 6 months, reduce it. The one that should take 3 months, reduce it. But with our terrains, even if we go electronically, is that visible? Because the barrister has mentioned that some constitutional democracies that do this in 2 weeks, in 1 month, and they are done. But this is Nigeria.
Yes, this is Nigeria. If we want it to work, it will work. Because even where we do not have electricity, we have batteries. We have other devices, other uninterruptible power supply systems that we can use in those places.
Architect, we are talking about November 2026.
Yes, November 2026, there are batteries. Look, I'm an educationist, you know that.
Right.
So that's why my being in so many spheres of life, you would always expose me to different things. Are we not already talking that certain WAEC would have all exams or certain exams by CBT? So how are they going to do that? Just this particular year, a few months ago, the English paper did not come in time. And for us private schools, we were able to switch on lights for the children to use. For the public schools, they were using candle and what do you call fitila? It's not lantern. The lamps. Atupa. Even Daniel knows Atupa.
So in that sense, if we want it to work,
it will work. So, but the children still wrote those exams, and I dare say now, because people are screaming on the various state governments, some of them are beginning to see how they can put electricity in the schools. So let batteries be made available. Let us explore this thing about having, I know I'm digressing a little bit, but I need to. let electricity be generated, transmitted, and distributed by the state governors. Enough of the flyovers that they are building. None of them is doing anything about electricity.
All right. Just before we go, Barrister, looking at all the proposed amendments to this 2022 Electoral Act, you've said some of them are laudable, some of them were not ready. But all in all, as a whole, would you say that this is a good move? This is a good initiative by the National Assembly at this time?
Certainly. Every society wants to be dynamic. And somebody said, by all means, try to move. If you cannot fly, you should run. If you cannot run, you should walk. If you cannot walk, you should crawl.
Just keep moving.
You just need to move. So they too realize that what we are doing in Nigeria is not an election. There was an incident that happened in Canada. The Nigerian went there for asylum. And they said, and then somehow they link him with one of the parties. They say, oh, that is what they call the word they use, that he belongs to a terrorist organization. So if our election, and even the last election happened, people have to be killed, a lot of things have to be done. So they too, they travel and they know the implications. So they must try to evolve and see that whatever we call election is actually look like election. And if you cannot get us, give us Eba. So that at least somehow we put something to him.
I'm sure some persons from where they eat Eba will not want that analogy because you are making Eba to look some
because in Yoruba land, they say you will
have to interpret that to those that are not speaking Eba. But I'd like to ask you the same question that Annie asked Barrister.
Okay.
APC controls the two-thirds at the National Assembly, especially at the Senate. Do you think this is a means for them to say, hey guys, let's do whatever we have to do and be home and dry before things degenerate?
Oh, definitely. It is a means for them to do anything and everything. And that is the danger of many more persons going to join the party. But that's the tendency that we have generally. When it was PDP was also having quite a number of people decamping to the PDP, and they were already boasting, we're going to rule Nigeria for the next 50 years.
60 years.
Or was it 60 years?
60.
But you and I know that they didn't rule Nigeria for more than
16. Yeah.
For 16 years out of the 60 that they thought they were going to. So, and I listened to Chief Bode George on a television program yesterday, who said only one person owns the APC right now. And the day anything happens to that one person, it doesn't have to be fatal. Whatever happens to that one person will happen to the APC too. So what we need...
ask Bode George.
Who is that? Bode George mentioned his name.
Who is the person?
He said his president. Yes, Bode George said it is President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself declared himself as the owner of the APC. Okay. But what we are saying is what we need in Nigeria is true federalism, such that you cannot be the owner of Nigeria. Look, if we have true federalism, people will rather be premiers and governors.
We have to go.
We have to go, but let me just put this one last point. The Sardauna of Sokoto, the power base of the North, the intellectual that control the politics of the North, chose to be the premier of Northern Nigeria and sent one of his boys, Tafawa Balewa, to the center to be the prime minister when there was true federalism. That is what we should go back to. And let me also remind you that the moment Obafemi Awolowo made the mistake of leaving Western Nigeria to go and contest to the Federal House of Representatives, he lost it all.
All right. That is one conversation we will keep having till we get to that true federalism that we seek. Architect Goke Omigbodun, politician, educationist, among other things. Thank you for your time. And of course, Barrister Moses Obaditan.
You didn't introduce me as law student.
You have just introduced yourself.
You said it.
Barrister in view. All right. Femi Ojo is my name. Barrister in view as well. We'll see you tomorrow.
All right. Daniel Emeka is my name. Join us again tomorrow for a fresh edition of Morning Spring on Western Spring Television. Do have a wonderful day. Good morning.